Welcome to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast, episode 131.
Welcome to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast with your host, Jack Mountain Bushcraft School founder and Master Main Guide, Tim Smith.
I'm your host, Tim Smith. I'm a registered Master Main Guide and have been a full-time outdoor instructor and guide since founding the Jack Mountain Bushcraft School in 1999. We help people become more skilled, more knowledgeable, more experienced, and more confident in the natural world through our bushcraft and guide training semester programs and multi-week canoe and snowshoe expeditions. You can check out the show notes to all of our podcasts at blog.jackmtn.com. If you're interested in learning more about our college-accredited and GI Bill-approved programs, visit the Jack Mountain Bushcraft School on the web at jackmtn.com. And check out our online network and digital learning academy at bushcraftschool.com. Hello and welcome back to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast. It is September 14th. We're sitting in the communications level of our semi-subterranean northern Maine headquarters. I'm joined here with Rick Swain and Oz, who've both been on the podcast in the past. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
Good morning.
Doing good.
It's Saturday morning. Beautiful fall weather, like in the 40s during the nighttime, maybe 60s, 70s during the day. This is the weather this is why people want to be in Maine, right? This is it. You look forward to this all year. It's only going to get a little bit colder. So yeah, it's just about perfect. But hardly any bugs and no snow. We get about 4 days of this a year, and we're going to relish it.
It's beautiful.
So these guys are up here next week. You two are running the solo expedition canoe course.
Yes, sir.
Tell our audience a little bit about that. Like, what's the point? What are you trying to do? Where are you going? What's happening?
Yeah, so I think the point of the course is to prepare guys for that next level of canoeing, right, where they're going out by themselves. And even the way it pertains to being a guide is maybe you're going to go scout a new river that you'd like to take clients down. So you need to kind of think differently when you're going out by yourself. Safety becomes much more of a concern for yourself because you can quickly lose your gear, fall out of your canoe, find yourself in a bad situation. And if you can't handle those with no one to rely on, then it's probably not going to go well for you. So we want to try to prepare the outdoorsman, the woodsman, for being able to accomplish that task with confidence.
So like fix themselves, fix their gear, save the boat.
Yeah, all those things, right? From self-rescue to fixing the gear that may get damaged to, understanding navigation to some extent so that you can get your way out of a situation if you need to go over land, or you can find where you are by, using a map and compass. Just things that we don't normally think of when we're traveling with a group, right? We kind of just throw our gear in, everything's good to go. And, if I dump it or something happens, I have a group of folks who can help me get back in my canoe. So I'm never really worried about, what possibly bad could happen down the way, except for with my clients, right, as a guide. And now that concern has to shift to yourself, and you're going, okay, I'm reading these rapids. Maybe they're a class 2, and even if I was with clients and everybody was here, we would normally run these, right? But maybe when I'm by myself, I'm thinking, I don't like this or I don't like that, so now I need to line it. Well, what does that entail? And, what happens if I get pulled in? What happens if I do decide to run it and I fall out of my canoe and I'm not attached to my canoe and my canoe's floating down while I'm floating down and I can't get my gear? So there's just a lot of things that you start thinking about when you're out by yourself when there's no one else to rely on.
Yeah. Yeah, I look kind of like how Tim broke it down. Care for self, care for equipment, canoe, and that's what it's going to come down to. So we'll be doing some Stop the Bleed certification where we kind of get into what happens if I cut myself severely out there and I'm by myself. What does that look like, and how do I take care of myself? So we're going to focus pretty heavily on, major hemorrhaging and some different techniques to stop that and actually get a certification out of it, which is pretty cool.
That's great, because usually, like the regular field school courses, we focus on the start the bleed when people are slicing themselves with their
I know. We're still working on the curriculum for that.
Well, each student had to sign a waiver. They're going to cut themselves, and then we're going to fix it.
At last course, the Marine Matt, when you remember how bad his hand was sliced up? Like,
yes.
Oh, what did he spend, like 18 hours at the emergency room?
Right.
Like the Presque Isle emergency room.
Yes.
It's open 24 hours, but it takes 25 hours to see anybody.
Yeah, I heard they're building a new Jack Mountain entrance.
Jack Mountain waiting room.
That sounds like a great course. Where are you guys going to go for that? Like, what's the river?
So we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this on the Allagash. We're gonna start at Churchill Dam. What that does is it gives us access to both the lake and the river. In the morning when they have the dam releases, we get that quick water. Then after that starts to die down, we can still pole, but we're gonna be in a little bit slower water. So we kind of get the whole gamut of canoeing while we're out there, right? We're gonna get to paddle those flat water miles. We're gonna get to pole some moving water. We're going to get to pull some really fast moving water. And I think that's right. For this course, the focus is more on the skills than it is, we did the Allagash, or we paddled 15 miles, or we paddled 45 miles throughout the week, or 100 miles, whatever it is. For this, it's about the reps. I ran Chase Rapids 3 times, right? I feel confident. I ferried with an unloaded canoe. I ferried with a loaded canoe, and I did each one 10 times, right? So
I think that's a really important point that a lot of people don't get, is that, like, if you're learning how to run rapids, you're learning how to pole in fast water. It's two separate skill sets. Like, if you're alone in an empty boat with no weight in it, you can do it one way. When you have a passenger, when you have a lot of weight in the boat, it's a totally different skill set. Like, you can't just plant the pole and push and muscle it. Like, you've got to let the current do the work. And we always have people, they love learning the first one because it's fun. You sort of feel like, oh, I'm in charge. You plant the pole, you push off, the canoe goes where you're going. And then those people get cocky usually, and then get completely owned when it's a fast moving water scenario with weight in the boat. But it's just a different skill set. And I think that's awesome that you guys are going to be differentiating between the two.
The way I look at it is kind of like chess, right? I played chess a lot with my grandfather, and I would always feel like he knew what was happening or was thinking ahead, while I was just moving and reacting to whatever was happening on the board. And the same thing sort of applies with a weighted boat. And as you step up your skill level, is you're thinking about what you have to do far before you have to do it. When you have an unloaded boat, or you're just kind of messing around, right? If I have to eddy out, oh, there's the eddy, and maybe I get it at the end, maybe I get it in the middle. But when you have a loaded canoe, you don't have time to I'll get to it when I can get to it, right? Because it may take 30 yards for me to start slowing down that boat in order for me to make that maneuver, right? So now I'm having to think 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. I'm reading a river differently, right? Maybe it's super simple for me to do a ferry when I'm unloaded, and so I don't worry about this part of the rips. But when I'm loaded, maybe it's a lot harder for me to ferry and do that move, and now I'm worried about getting stuck on a rock. So it really changes the way you have to think and read the river, and that's what we're excited to get to.
Yeah, 100% on that. Like, that's good, hard-won knowledge you just heard, folks listening out in podcast land. I had a similar experience as a kid, but I would play Hungry Hungry Hippos with my older brother, not chess with my grandfather. But when the hippo sees the marble,
right. I would time the bounce. I never got good at chess either. I still play the same. So
we're choosing the Allagash because the options are kind of slim this time of year. Water levels are pretty low, so we're going to go with the Allagash, where we know that it's dam released, and we know that we'll be able to get some good training in. So
yeah, I think it's the only river with water in it currently in northern Maine. Like, the Aroostook's down below 150 cubic feet per second. So it's like you could walk down the river bed and maybe get your ankles wet, maybe not. But yeah, it's nice having all those big headwater lakes on the Allagash and then those dam releases.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's just an awesome fall run too. Like being up there with no bugs, you're like, oh, I can't believe there's no bugs here. It's amazing.
Yeah, these guys. The thing is this week it warms up, so these guys showed up for like the last week of summer, and then fall starts next week. But
that's great though.
Yeah, it'll be good, especially when we start doing our rescues.
Self-rescues, yeah, definitely.
Other things that are going on around here, current events, it took us a long time this year, but finally got winter programs on the schedule for February, running a winter woodsman, and we have gone through a big renaming thing of a few of our long-term programs. For about 22 years, we called our 2-week winter program the Boreal Snowshoe Expedition, but that's no more. Now we have changed the name to the Boreal Winter Survival Instructor course. And that goes to reflect, I think it's important because the weather last year, the year before, has not been super conducive to like long snowshoe trips. You know, if you get a big thaw, you get a rain, it warms up, it's really hard hauling sleds any distance in that type of weather. So I think we're going to focus more on skills than we are on, covering miles and hitting the trail. So that's kind of the redirection on that one. We definitely will still get out. We'll still be hauling sleds and toboggans. We still will be setting up remote camps, but the emphasis is going to be more on the skills, on getting people up to speed with how to live and teach others in that frozen environment than it is on just simply covering miles. And if people are interested and they still want to do those just cover miles sorts of trips, get in touch with us because I'm always itching to get out in the winter. It's like my favorite time to be out, and would love to throw some more programs on the schedule. Similarly, next summer, the Wilderness Canoe Expedition Semester has now become the Professional Canoe Guide training course. And in the past, it's always been a 4-week course, and we're going to shorten that to 3 weeks. But in the past, we've allowed people to start with that class, like people with no experience. And so week 1 of the 4 weeks has always been like a basic intro to paddling, poling, canoes, fires, cooking over fires, swinging an axe safely, all those things. And from here on out, that will not be part of the experience. So we're going to have a week-long course the week immediately prior. So people who are starting from scratch will have to do that 1 week kind of prep woodsman-y course right before in order to participate in that, just so that they don't hold the group back. Because what we've noticed is it's a lot of people returning to do that program, and we don't want them to have to just kind of sit around bored while they rehash stuff they already know. So that's going from 4 weeks down to 3 weeks. And both of those are on the calendar for next year. The other big thing we're adding to the 9-week Wilderness Bushcraft Semester, I was able to find a guy, I'm not sure where I found him, who's going to come and do a wilderness first aid course as part of the Wilderness Bushcraft Semester. And actually that guy is sitting right next to me. His name's Rick, and we've known each other for a number of years. But we're going to add that to the program just so that people can, if they so choose, at the end of that, they'll be ready to go take their main guide test.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. I've wanted to do this for a while, and so we're going to incorporate 2-day Wilderness First Aid solo certification course right in the beginning of the long courses. And like Tim said, that'll give the students an option if they want to go get their main guide license. They can go and test out for that because they'll have all the prereqs. And then what I think more importantly is they'll have the skills and the confidence throughout the rest of the course. If they get injured or somebody else get injured, you've got that many more hands to help out that actually know what they're doing. So I think it's a win-win situation for everybody, and I'm really, really happy to start doing that.
Yeah, that'll be great. And from a purely practical perspective, I think those skills will be good to have when people are waiting in the waiting room at the 24-hour emergency room in Presque Isle, just to make sure that no one no one has a bad medical outcome
I
there.
think we should add a new craft, and that's chainmail gloves.
I've seen those. They have like
They
gloves
do,
you
yeah.
wear.
Yeah,
You
for the
can't,
carvers.
supposedly you can't slice yourself with. I don't. I've never seen them like in person, but
It's good for kids programs.
they really work. You can't slice yourself.
Yeah, they're really good.
So why don't they just make like jumpsuits out of that for like kung fu movies and stuff?
They should.
Anyway, it's kind of interesting. A couple other things we have going on the semester that we're currently on. We just wrapped up week 3. People are heavily into the canoe paddle carving process. Hope to have those all finished, and we will get some varnish on them on Monday, and then we can start traveling. As these guys mentioned, the water here super low, so we'll probably be sticking to the lakes and things around, but thankfully we've got some big lake circuits that we can paddle moving from camp to camp, and just a beautiful time to be out. So excited about that, but everything on the current course moving right along. It feels like, in my mind right now, I'm thinking when the 3 of us were together guiding that spring canoe course in May, feels like at least 100 years ago. Like,
does.
I can't even,
Oh, I know.
it just feels like a long, long time ago. Other stuff that's going on this fall. Rick, you've got a couple of survival courses coming up in New Hampshire, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we have. I'm teaching down at the New Hampshire Outdoor Learning Center part time in Wolfboro, New Hampshire, and I'm kind of helping out with taking over their survival portion of their program. And we'll be doing a 1-day survival 101, a 1-day land navigation, and then a 2-day survival 102, both in October and November. And you can check that out at my website, thesquirrel275.com.
Yeah, that'll be cool. And Oz, at the end of the canoe course, you're going to head west and go canoeing. Is that?
Yeah, I think someone might have an addiction. So I'm gonna finish up here, and then head home, and then prep. One of the students who came through the canoe course actually this year, great guy. We're gonna meet up. He lives just north of me in Michigan, and then we're gonna head up to the UP and do the Two-Hearted River, which apparently holds its water levels pretty good throughout the year. And pretty famous river. I think Hemingway wrote the Two-Hearted River,
Big
which he was
Two-Hearted
actually
River.
referring to the Fox River at the time, but he was hiding the name.
Because he wanted to keep his fishing spot secret, right? Like,
That's a reason I don't ever name that river right down the road.
Yeah,
I
same
never
thing.
say that. So, I'm really looking forward to that. And then he's going to head home, and I may sneak over to the Fox, which is not too far from there, and then do that. And then head home and sign those divorce papers. So, I'm really looking forward to taking up my fall, staying in the water, staying in the woods, and maybe get my boys out there too.
it's just awesome. Especially if you spend the summer in the woods, like just struggling with sweating and bugs. Like, you owe it to yourself to spend a good amount of the fall out there when it starts to get nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I had this summer, the bugs were so bad here. The deer flies were so bad in northern Maine. I've got an e-bike that I will often ride down the hill. It's 1 mile from the headquarters here to Moose Vegas, and the deer flies were so bad. Like, I thought they would bite me on the hands if I was riding the e-bike, and they bit me so many times that I had to start wearing winter gloves. And somebody was like, "What are you wearing? Are those like bike gloves? Like, what are you wearing winter gloves for?" And I was like, "I have to, because I got bit like 75 times in that mile the other day." So I'm glad that's over. Like, man, it was a hot. I'm sure everybody who's listening to this can commiserate that it was a hot, buggy summer.
It was
everywhere, and we complain it got up to 80, and we're whining, and I'm sure people are like, it was like 120 where they're listening to, and
Yeah, but they're sitting in AC.
yeah.
So they don't count.
It was hot. It was tough, and we're happy to have definitely happy to have the cooler weather on tap here, and cooler water too. Like, it'd be nice to have get in the water and get cold right away, right? Like that summer thing where you get in the water. There was a time when we were on the Allagash in July where like went swimming and wasn't any cooler. Like the water temperature was
bath
like
water.
Yeah, you're like break a sweat
Yes.
when you get in the water. Like, oh, that's hard.
I feel like the next few weeks too is when a lot of the big changes happen too. So it's such a beautiful time to be here.
Yeah, for sure. Like looking out the window now, like the big maple in the yard's turning red and all the birches and aspens are turning yellow, and it's just gorgeous. Like, really wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Except maybe that shady casino in New Brunswick. Because it's not that far away. I'm sure the scenery is nice there.
Right.
But they have...
You can look out a window every now and then.
Yeah. I guess the only kind of main topic we had to talk about today was currently I'm in the process of revamping one of our courses that's part of our long program, the the outdoor leadership course. And around here, we're basically a school that focuses on hard skills. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do this better or more efficiently? But it's always good to remember, if you're going to be guiding or working with people, that soft skills pay the bills. So, really working on teaching people the most efficient ways to learn and perfect their soft skills. And we're going through that. In the past, we've always used a book where we read the book and discuss all the different chapters, one chapter a day. But I think we're to the point now where I'm tired of that author's stories about like hikes gone wrong and things. And so what I'm doing is revamping the curriculum where we still have the same like instructional component, but the stories at this point are all Jack Mountain stories about like trips gone wrong or something like that. And it's been really fun. It's been super fun to like kind of go through my memory banks and think about different trips that illustrate all the points that we want to cover when we're going through that curriculum. And I've really enjoyed it, and hopefully can offer that up. Maybe we'll do it as an online course in the winter for people that don't have the opportunity to come out here. Because I know that there's a lot of people that are kind of interested in what we do, but taking that huge chunk of time off from their regular life, their family, their work just isn't an option. So coming up with ways that they can participate and get their hands dirty with our curriculum is something that's always of interest. I don't have a whole lot else today, guys. What do you guys have on tap for the day? Putting on skid plates and doing self-rescue stuff? And
yeah, that kind of been thinking about, because Oz and I are going to be dumping canoes and stuff later on. I've just been thinking about how cold is the water going to be. I'm not a big cold water fan, but
we'll get the sauna fired up.
It's got to be done, yeah.
We'll get the sauna fired up. We can do our rescues and then run to the sauna.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Because we're big and tough. Was that on the recorders?
I just want you guys to know the water's pretty cold, and I'll be thinking about you when I'm at that casino in New Brunswick.
Yeah, that's part of the day today. And then, Oz is going to do some repair work on a canoe and just get ready for the students to show up tomorrow. So,
yeah, we did a big field school improvement a month ago where we doubled the size of the down the hill parking lots and the up the hill parking lots. And we've been working on like two separate campsites. So now we have basically three campsites so we can run multiple programs here. We've got the acreage. It's just we lacked some parking before, but we've got that set now. So we'll still continue to be running the Wilderness Bushcraft Semester, and those guys will be camped in Moose Vegas, and these two guys are camped now in our second campground known as Hobo Junction. And then I think your students are going to be camped on Moonshine Hill, the third.
I think they'll be the first ones, right?
Well, we had a guy there last year for quite a while. We didn't have a parking lot, but yeah, so it's kind of neat to see the space change and develop a little bit.
It is.
The growth. It's cool.
Yeah. That's kind of all I have for the day. If you guys have anything else, again, you can see Rick's programs. What's your website again? We'll put it in the show notes. But
yep, it is The Scroll, THESCROLL 275.com.
Yep, and it'll be in the show notes, and you can, Oz's stuff is usually on the Jack Mountain website. We haven't convinced him to jump in with 2 feet and enter the World Wide Web.
Don't do it.
But thank you for listening, and we'll catch you again later.
Take care.
Take care.
You have been listening to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast. For more information on our professional wilderness guide training programs that are college accredited and GI Bill approved, visit us on the web at jackmtn.com.